Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review. Now, this is a low-budget horror thriller type film, but it does what I think these kind of low-budget films really should do, and that is not try and be simply too ambitious. They don't have the budget for it. Now, it's a very, very simple story, and it's obviously very influenced by Steven Spielberg's Duel. In fact, you can almost say it's almost a remake of that movie. Now, the basic premise here is you've got a guy who is kind of a little bit unhappy with his life. He's married, his career hasn't kind of gone the way he wanted. He's sort of having an affair with a woman, and he just kind of wants to break it off because he kind of realises, you know, he does love his wife and all of that. And he actually manages to kind of piss off this biker by simply parking in a space that this biker wanted to park in, and it kind of pisses off this biker so much that he sort of ends up sort of tormenting our protagonist, and it kind of escalates to one of a series of events in a kind of to the point where there's some character deaths. You've got an extra layer of intrigue here as to kind of the protagonist, Dennis I think his name is, thinks it's basically the kind of the boyfriend of the kind of the mistress that he's been seeing. You know, that's kind of revealed at the end. You know, it may or may not be him. I won't tell you that. Anyway, so what's the film like? Well, I have to say, like I said, it's obviously very reminiscent of Duel. It kind of does remind me of these sort of 70s sort of films that you used to get, these kind of horror films. It's very simple, but it almost reminds me of these kind of slasher films where we have this kind of almost an unstoppable killer and almost a supernatural force in a way. Now, I have to say, if I had to say some negatives with this movie, is that I don't really understand the kind of the biker's motivation. You're never really told. He never speaks. You never see his face. Incidentally, it's actually the director who plays the biker as well. And you know, so his obviously origins and kind of motivations are sort of kept in mystery. Then that's obviously a conscious decision to do that. But you do think, you know, is this getting a little bit far-fetched? Because if this guy was so unstable that he goes as far as he does in the movie, surely he would have had some sort of consequence previous to this. I mean, surely this can't be the, you know, something really pissed him off. Just imagine if someone, you know, hit his bike previously or something else. I mean, he would have surely have kicked off even worse. So, you know, are we meant to believe this? He goes this far just for someone picking up his you know, parking in his space. Anyway, so, you know, there are some kind of maybe unrealistic character motivations, but, you know, you could just say, yeah, this guy's a loony, he's a serial killer, whatever. So you can't really sort of rationalise it. Fair enough. But the other thing I have an issue with is sometimes what the characters do just doesn't seem like real people would do. Now, the kind of, without kind of giving away too many spoilers, no one really ever sort of cries out for help in this film. There's quite a few sort of dangerous situations, and people could be quite easily remedied if they just called out for help. And this is a scene. Quite a large portion of this film takes place in a kind of suburban environment where there's not a lot of background noise. If someone were to sort of smash a window or, you know, cry out for help, someone's going to hear. Stuff like that. You've got a neighbour who comes around who seems to be knocking on the door for about 10 minutes. And like, to be honest, if no one answered, you would not be still knocking on this door sort of 10 minutes later. And just so a few examples of things like that, basically. We just don't seem realistic. And kind of the killer, like I say, he's sort of slowly walking around and just basically letting people almost kind of get away and stuff like that. So it makes for sort of more of a style over substance sort of film. Now, that said, I actually did find this film quite enjoyable. It is quite cheesy, and I don't know if it was almost a conscious decision to be like that, perhaps, but I don't know. Nevertheless, I actually find it a fun movie. It's a very simple plot. So, you know, it's quite sort of easy to kind of get into and just get sucked into the kind of the cat and mouse game that, like I say, it directly references Duel. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. I think it's, you know, probably an average film. It's certainly not a bad movie. It's perfectly enjoyable if you kind of like these things. 5 out of 10. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment. I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.